When you think of a strong female character, who's the first one that comes to mind? Maybe you think of Ripley from the Alien franchise. Maybe you think of Mulan from Mulan. Or maybe you think of someone else. As for myself, one of the first characters I think of, if not the first character, would actually be Erza Scarlet from Fairy Tail. To me, Erza is a wonderful example of not just a great female character, but just a great character in general. We have seen time and time again where someone tries to make a strong, likable, independent girl boss kind of character, and while I'm sure they mean well, they don't always land the mark. But why is that? Why can't we get that more often? It's not like it's impossible. I just gave 3 examples of strong female characters that are like the epitome of girl power, and girls can be badasses too, and they can be likable. Well, we're gonna go ahead and talk about one of them. Obviously, Erza. I mean, you saw the title of this video, why would I talk about Mulan? I'd love to talk about Mulan. Don't get me wrong. But we're here to talk about Erza. First, let's take a look at Erza's origin story, where she came from, what her life was like before she was a member of the Fairy Tail Guild. Because like every other member of the Fairy Tail Guild, she's been through some stuff. What kind of stuff has she been through? Well, for one, child slavery. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I would kind of not be happy if I was enslaved, especially as a child. But what really works about the whole origin story for Erza isn't just, oh, she was a child slave, feel bad for her, but also you get to see who she was like during that time. And who she was like is kind of what you would expect a child to be like if they were enslaved. Very unhappy and scared. Too scared to even really do anything about it because you're afraid it'll get worse. This is a pretty big contrast to the Erza we are used to seeing at this point in the show, because when Erza's first introduced to us in the show, she's already a grown woman and she's really strong, she's really brave, she's got that leadership quality to her. She's awesome, she's a badass. So to see her as this timid, scared, broken little girl, it can be kind of jarring, but it also makes sense. One mistake that some people will make sometimes with not just female characters, but any character really, is they take the huge risk of making somebody born special. Take, for example, and I'm not the first person to bring this up, but the live-action Disney remake of Mulan. Rather than making Mulan just a regular girl trying to fit in, trying to do good by her family, and then going on to war, to where she sucks at first, but then she grows and becomes more capable and becomes a great soldier. They just made her special. She was just born special, and like she was destined for greatness. A character like that isn't necessarily doomed for failure. I still believe you can make a chosen one character work. Look at Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. He was the chosen one. He became the next Avatar. He was destined for great things, but that show still presented the chosen one character. I'm doing the quotes a lot, aren't I? I love doing this. Why do I love doing that? I don't know. Even though he's the chosen one character, he still behaves the way you'd expect someone that age and with that kind of pressure suddenly put on them to behave. Something like that still works. Aang was still scared. So scared he ran away from his responsibilities, and we got to see the consequences of that. But with Erza, we're not getting a chosen one story. We're getting the story of someone who is broken and beaten down pretty much since day one. We don't know where her parents are. They seemingly abandoned her, and now here she is, stuck as a slave, and her friends are just as scared as she is. But they do eventually try to get out of their situation, mainly from Jalal, Erza's best friend at the time. He had some bravery and some optimism to him despite their situation, and he was determined to get them out of there. And they almost did. And this is another great thing about Erza's story, is that even though they finally, as a group of friends, tried to muster up the courage to get out of their situation, they don't get out of there cleanly. There's still sacrifices to their decision. Jalal is left behind because he becomes possessed. Erza loses a freaking eyeball. It's terrible. It's traumatizing, and the girl's already been through enough. But she did still manage to get out of her situation, and eventually she found a new family in the form of fairy tale. And it's really satisfying, for me at least, to see Erza go from this scared little girl to a brave, strong woman. And she gained that strength not by just being born with it or just by being a woman. She gained that strength through pain, through suffering. Bad times, hard times create strong men, but they also create strong women. And Erza is a shining example of how to make a strong woman. Give them an origin story that shows them as not who we're used to seeing them as. If we're used to seeing them as a strong character, give them an origin story where they're not strong. If they're brave, make them scared. Show us who they were before they became what we're used to seeing them as, so we can experience that growth as an audience, and it becomes all the more satisfying when we do see her as a grown woman be brave and fight for her friends, fight for her guild. We'd much rather see someone be made into a badass than just be born a badass. The other element to Erza being a great, well-written female character is because, and by the way, when I say female character, that's not supposed to be an insult, it's a compliment. Because like I said, Erza's not just a great female character, she's just a great character. But I want to touch on the female part specifically in this part of the video, because what makes her great as a female is she embraces womanhood. Erza's not a badass because she tries to act like a man. She doesn't try to be a man like the stereotypical tough man persona is perceived to be. She's still very much a woman and proud to be a woman. She is not afraid to still be feminine. She still loves to wear pretty dresses. She still loves to be kind of flirty. She knows she looks good. She ain't afraid to be kind of sexy every once in a while. Erza's not afraid to be a woman. She doesn't sacrifice being a woman in order to be this brave, tough person. She's not always trying to be serious like the stereotypical tough man is. They're always serious, never gonna joke around, have fun, always serious. And I don't necessarily hate characters like that. I'm just saying, if you want to make a character tough and brave and strong, they don't always need to be serious. Erza will still like to party with her friends, have some drinks, have some fun, eat some strawberry cake, and if you knock down her strawberry cake, run for your life because she will kill you. She still loves to be a woman. And I think that's kind of an overlooked part of the Erza character as to what makes her so great. Hiro Mashima didn't write Erza to be a girl trying to be a man. Strong and still feminine. You can be both. She's not the only example in the world of anime of a character who can be both strong and feminine. I'm just saying, for me, she's probably the first one I think of because I think Hiro Mashima does such a great job showing you that. I like Lucy. I know not every fairy tale fan does, but I like Lucy. But she's definitely more scared, and she's not nearly as powerful as Erza. She's gone through some stuff, but she hasn't gone through, not to make it a competition, but she hasn't gone through the kind of traumatic events that Erza's gone through. And that's okay. Not every character needs to be like Erza, and Erza doesn't need to be like every character. One of the best things about Fairy Tail is Fairy Tail. That guild is just full of so many cool and diverse characters that work so well together. They have such great chemistry. And one of the core elements of that guild, I think, is Erza. You could argue Erza's kind of the heart of Fairy Tail. She's, or maybe she's the anchor. No matter how bad things get, Erza can stand tall and let the guild know that she's there, and as long as she's still standing, as long as she's still breathing, she's gonna fight for her guild, because that's how much Fairy Tail means to her. And her sense of leadership, even if she's not technically in charge, is so strong and infectious. And that's another great element of Erza's character, is she does have that leadership quality, which is, again, such a contrast to who she was when she was just a little kid, trapped. I can go on and on and on and on about Erza. She's one of my favorite characters in Fairy Tail. Travis and I made a list of our top 10 favorite Fairy Tail characters years ago. I don't remember where I put her on the list. I want to say 6. But the more I think about it, if I were to redo that list, she'd probably be top 5. She's that good of a character. One of her crowning achievements was definitely in the Grand Magic Games when she took on 100 enemies all at once. And that was really cool. But that would not have worked had we not gotten to know Erza as well as we had up to that point. If that was our first interaction or our first introduction to Erza, it might still be cool, but it's not as satisfying. I remember seeing that and I'm just over here just like, that's fairy tale right there. Gosh dang, I wish this guild was real, because I would join in a heartbeat. Because of characters like Erza, I'd be like, I want to be a part of that. But that's really what I wanted to get across in this video. Didn't want to make it too long, I just want to get to the point of explaining to those who maybe still don't quite know how to figure out writing a strong female character. I've said that like 20 times in this video, I think. Jeez. But it bears repeating. If you want to make a character like that, don't be afraid to look at good examples of that. And Erza is a great example of how you make a female character that you want them to be a strong leader who you could, also say independent, that's fine, but is also still proud to be a woman. Maybe you, the person watching this, maybe you in a way, you can relate to Erza. Hopefully not completely. If you have, I'm so sorry. But maybe in certain ways you can. Maybe when you were a kid, not just the girls, but the men out there too, you can relate to Erza, that's fine. But maybe when you were a kid, you were always scared, you were always timid, you were too afraid to try and fix any problems because you were afraid things would just get worse, you would get hurt. But maybe as the years have gone by, you've grown, you've become stronger, you've become more fierce, you've become more willing to take risks, to solve problems that need to be solved, knowing full well if things don't go well, they could get worse, but if they do go well, they could get better. Erza is the kind of character, just like any other fairy tale character, where you can find qualities in them that are likable and maybe even relatable. I wouldn't necessarily say that I relate to Erza that much. I was a pretty scared and timid kid. These days I do think I've grown. I think I still got a lot more work to do. Seeing a character like Erza and seeing what she overcomes, even if she is a fictional character, it can still be motivating, it can still be inspiring, and I do truly hope that Erza or any of the fairy tale characters have managed to inspire you to grow as a human being. Because honestly, if you would ask me what is the best thing about fairy tale and why it's one of my favorite animes of all time, I would tell you simply, it's the characters. They're just that good. Thank you for watching. Felicia, take it away.
Thank you for watching. If you're not subscribed, be sure to do so by clicking here. If you are subscribed, we thank you for keeping the Animen dream alive. Be sure to check out our other content here and here. For even more content, be sure to check out the rest of our channel and be sure to follow us on Twitter by clicking the link in the description below. I'm Felicia, and I'll see you next time.